All right, let's get into the top 10. Now, I just want to clarify. Now, I'm sort of basing this sort of on a quasi-scientific approach where I use not only my own experience, but also what I see in Google Trends. And one of the things that I can tell you right now that I see a big demand around is certainly professionals that can actually use services like BigQuery or RDS in AWS, for example, and actually put together a data solution and derive value from that data. So data science, big data is a really big deal. It's really in demand. One of the things that I think is important is, again, the increase in command isn't as, what I would call steep as Kubernetes or blockchain, but it's there. So with that said, data scientists are in demand. Now, not just any data scientists. It does seem, looking at Google Trends and looking at LinkedIn, and also I think it was Monster I looked at as well, it looks like the main skill sets that are tied to a data scientist is going to be machine learning, data mining, data analytics, Python, and R. So that's actually quite a bit. That's not an easy job. These are very wide areas to actually learn and know. And this is sort of true as well, whether you are really a cloud expert in a platform or in specific technologies like data science, big data. The demand for a lot of these professionals is starting to peak. There is demand. It's just getting more competitive. It used to be that if you added like, a data scientist and data mining to your resume, you would be called like within that same week for an interview. Now, again, some of the jobs, are definitely attracting, 100, 200 resumes. Now, demand is high, so there's no question still. Salary is around $95,000 a year, so it just depends on, a lot of factors like experience, where you're located, the type of company you work for too. Like, for example, if you work for like some of the social media companies like Facebook or Google, etc., their salaries are going to be very high, compared to this. This is just, again, sort of a wide national estimate. So that was pretty much from Glassdoor on what they estimated. All right. Now, also too, one thing too, and I just want to clarify this, so I'm going to go back one more. So like when we talk about data science and big data, it's not just a data scientist. It's not just, for example, that title. Let me get my highlighter here. So just think here again, it's not just the title data scientist. It really is a bunch of titles that fall into this category. The most common is data scientist, data engineer, qualitative analyst, or data analyst. So it's a wide area, wide net in titles. Also, too, this is an interesting fact as well from LinkedIn. 84% of enterprises plan to launch some type of initiative around making decisions based on data. So this is an area that still has a lot of growth, and a lot of enterprises are still not mature in this area. All right, let's talk about number 9, Python. Okay, there is no question that Python just blows all the other programming languages away from a demand perspective. Now, I will say though, if you go to certain websites, sometimes they'll have Java still as number 1. Again, Monster might have a little different result. LinkedIn might have a little different result. But when it comes to developer-focused languages, Python is clearly rated number 1 on numerous websites. So again, you can see Python still, by far, when we look at, for example, here, Python to JavaScript, that's what, about an 8+% or so difference. So it has the lead. So this is a big deal when it comes to knowing Python, because Python really falls into a lot of different areas. Like, for example, data science and data warehousing, but it also falls into machine learning. It also falls into AI as well in some respects, and blockchain for that matter, and just cloud native in some respects. So it's a wide net to be a Python specialist. But the main demand that typically comes up is going to be data warehousing, enterprise integration. Now, this is a big deal. I had actually ran into an old manager that I knew, and I was talking to him about probably about 4 months ago, 5 months ago, and he was saying he could find people that knew Python, but he couldn't find people that could actually take an existing enterprise application and port it over properly. And that's always a big deal, is how do you take a legacy app and port it over from Perl or something, right? Again, this is always that challenge. So if you have proven enterprise integration experience, you are going to see likely some kind of demand. Again, it could be dependent on where you're located, but the good part too, a lot of these jobs are remote or can be remote. So according to the 2019 Stack Overflow survey, Python is still the fastest growing language. According to Indeed, there's over, first let me back up. Excuse me, get some water. Okay, according to Indeed, Python is the most demanding programming language in the USA job market, and had the highest number of job postings at 74,000. And when I looked at, like, I think it was Java, or I think it was one of the smaller languages like Ruby, it was like 20,000 plus more. So it was actually a pretty substantial difference. So Python is in demand. The one thing I will say, it doesn't seem to really pull a high salary in a lot of markets, and it brings down the average from a nationwide perspective. So just be aware of that. So don't get the salary as like sort of like defining factor. I think a lot of it is, if, again, like I was saying, can you prove you're an enterprise expert in application integration? If you can, that salary will jump up considerably.